Hi everybody, this is the channel Delicious Recipes and I, Olga Matvey. Today we will cook meat pie from such a shortbread dough around. It is juicy, delicious. Meat pie is like an appetizer. It can be eaten both cold and hot and whatever you like. We start it quick, easy and inexpensive. Let's start by preparing the meat. I took pork shoulder. You can take absolutely any meat. The fattier it will be, the juicier your pie will be. You can even use chicken. I boil it in salted water. Now we will prepare the dough while the meat is boiling, because the dough should still lie in the refrigerator. The butter is soft. We take 2 yolks. They just need to be mixed. Here in the yolks, I add a pinch of salt and half a teaspoon of sugar. Stir it in and pour it over the butter. The butter should be soft. Stir in the butter and eggs. Add the sour cream to the butter. I have it, 20% fat. You can take any. Now mix everything together. Now we send here the baking powder. You can use baking soda, but then it will have to be extinguished with vinegar. Send a small amount of flour. Knead the dough. Just a few spoons of flour. And the dough becomes viscous. Add the flour gradually until the dough is soft. Add the last part of the flour. Put the dough on the table. Take 1 tablespoon of flour and pour flour on top of the dough so that your hands are not too sticky. Gather the dough into 1 lump. Do not knead the dough too much. It should be a little sticky. Look, because there's sour cream and butter. See, on the table the dough sticks and it's wet. A little bit of flour, literally a teaspoon. We'll take it away so that the dough, when it's in the foil now, it's got a little bit of flour around it. It's not needed, so let it be like that. We put away the dough to the refrigerator for about 1 hour, maybe an hour and a half. Boiled meat should be passed through a meat grinder. I add here a few cloves of garlic. In a small saucepan, boil 4 eggs. While the eggs are boiling, put a skillet so large on the stove. Here we put a piece of butter and vegetable oil. Now I've already sliced the onions. 2 large onions should be cut into slices, semi-rings, quarters. Send the onions here, but you don't need to fry them. They should be sautéed. They should become soft. Here in the onions, I send a little paprika, ground bay leaf, a mixture of peppers, and a little cumin. Put it here on the onions. Stir it in. And wait just a few more minutes. The onions should be soft, not crispy. The onions have gotten soft. Look at that, completely soft. I turn off the skillet, give it a little last bit of salt, and transfer it all to a large bowl. This is where we'll be mixing all the stuffing, so the bowl needs to be large or take a saucepan. Here in the onions, we send the stuffing. Mix everything. If you add the mincemeat raw, the flavor of the pie will be completely different. It smells really good. First of all, the garlic here was raw, unprocessed. Now it interacts with the hot onions and smells very garlicky. It feels like you're in your grandmother's kitchen when they made the pies. I boiled the meat in salted water, but nevertheless I will salt it a little more. I take dill, chop it finely, and add it to the meat too. Mix everything. Of spices, I do not add anything else. The eggs that we boiled cooled down. Now I'm going to cut them. With this filling, you can make not only a pie, you can make pies. It will be very tasty. You can stuff crepes. I just crushed the eggs finely. Eggs are also sent to the meat. Everything needs to be mixed. And another very important thing. The water in which the meat was boiled, I do not immediately pour out. Why? First, if you will make from beef, you will in any case need a little bit of water. The stuffing will fall apart. That's all well and good. But if you're making patties, I add a little bit of liquid. Now we start adding the broth. I start with 2 or 3 tablespoons. Stir. The stuffing should be juicy, but the water should not separate from it. It should not be something liquid. See if the meat absorbs it well. I add usually 4 to 5 more tablespoons. What's the broth for? I'm pressing it down. The meat starts to hold its shape. It's not falling apart, but there's no water at the bottom. You can see the bottom is completely dry. It should be the same for you. The fattier the meat, the juicier the pie will be. You can use any kind of dough for this pie. Today we're making a more shortbread dough. You can use puff pastry, yeast dough. If you make pies in the oven, the yeast dough will be like this. Let's take a mold. A little sunflower oil on the bottom, grease it in the sides too. I have a mold with a diameter of, I don't remember, I'll see how many. If your mold is not like mine, for example, ceramic, the cake will take longer to bake in it. So, in a mold with a diameter of about 27 centimeters. Grease the sides of the mold also very carefully. On the table, pour half a cup of flour and lay the dough on it. Dip the dough in flour. Put the flour aside. Knead the dough in the flour a little like this. Add flour just a little. And knead it aside. You don't have to knead in all the flour at once. The dough should stop sticking too much to your hands. When the dough is no longer sticky, it's still in the flour. See? There's flour still on my table. And as long as there's flour on the table and the dough is a little bit in the flour, it's not sticking to my hands. If I start kneading fully, the dough starts to stick to my hands. But usually like this, half a cup, that's 130 grams of flour, half and half, it gets 65 grams somewhere. That's enough flour. Now you have to divide the dough into 3 parts. Cut off 1 part, sprinkle the table with flour, and roll out into a single layer. This is approximately how much you have a mold in diameter. This is the circle and roll out. Transfer the dough into the mold, you see, like this. And now we need to make the edges, the sides of the dough like this. Put all the filling in the center. Now spread it out so there should be a little bit in the middle, just a little bit. And then fill all the edges. Set aside to roll out another part of the dough, which we will cover the top. I want to say 2 words about the dough. Everyone's flour will be different. Sour cream is different. So the amount of flour, you may not have enough of what I gave, literally grams to 50, and maybe someone will have 100 grams more. The dough should roll out with a rolling pin if it is sprinkled with flour. If it sticks to the rolling pin, to the table, just add more flour and knead the dough. It's the difference between the flour and the sour cream. Okay, look, it's all rolled out. Now, transfer the dough on the pie. Like this. Press down a little bit like this to get the air out. And shape the edges. How do we do that? Here's the edge and here's the edge. You have to press it like this. Press the edge with your finger and remove the excess dough. Now take a fork and make a few of these punctures so that there was a place for steam and air to escape. Because there is liquid inside, we poured in the mincemeat itself, so it is better to make punctures. Send the pie to a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 360 Fahrenheit. It bakes for 40 and 50 minutes. 5 minutes before it's ready, we smear the pie with beaten egg to make it beautiful. We take out into the oven for another 5 minutes. I want to say that everyone's oven is different, and someone's pie will stand for 40 minutes. Someone will stand for 50, and someone will cook it even in half an hour. I took it out of the oven. It should cool completely. Do not remove from the mold until it cools. Look at the cut. It's still a little warm. Look how beautiful it is. It's like a lid on top. That's what it looks like. In the background is the whole pie that I cut off. This is what it looks like when you cut it open. It turns out to be big, hearty, delicious. You can eat it both warm and cold. After all, shortbread dough is universal for any food, and meat and fruit and whatever kind of pie you want. Okay. We'll try it, because it smells so yummy. It's nice and yellow. Well, it's just super. Actually, these pies are very tasty. I have an onion pie like this. Dima will leave a link at the end of the video, so you should check it out. Okay, here we go. I broke a really big piece, but it's okay. It's still slightly warm. Very tender dough. It melts in your mouth. The dough is delicious. The filling is delicious. So whatever you put in here, it's delicious. The herbs. It won't be the same without dill. Be sure to make with fresh dill. I don't like it with parsley. It tastes like soup. The flavor of soup to me from parsley, I do not know. But dill. Very tasty with dill. In general, I recommend meat pie to everyone. Chilled, cold, warm, whatever you want. It's delicious. Anyway, that was the meat pie today. Make it. You can make the filling to your taste. And whoever doesn't want to mess with a pie, make pierogies. Be sure to check out the onion pie at the end of this video. You might like it too. Thank you for being with me today. Give me some likes, subscribe to the channel. Bye bye.